you know the names of the U.S. residents who then became the presidents and got a view from the White House loo up.
There are two things wrong here. Firstly, I doubt that Americans would use the term loo. Secondly, only one president never lived in the White House, that being George Washington. Washington oversaw its construction, and John Adams was the first to move in, with the building being incomplete by then. The inaccuracy count is now 2.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
George Washington was the first you see. He once chopped down a cherry tree.
The story of George Washington chopping down his father's cherry tree when he was 6 was most likely a myth, as it has no proof. The story, which is a well-known fable, was made by Mason Locke Weems. The inaccuracy count is now 3.
President number 2 would be John Adams, and then number 3.
Tom Jefferson stayed up to write the Declaration late at night.
Thomas Jefferson didn't write the Declaration of Independence on his own. He co-wrote it with Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Roger Sherman, and Robert R. Livingston. Also, Jefferson co-wrote the Declaration of Independence a quarter of a century before he took office. The inaccuracy count is now 5.
Oh, he and his wife had a great big fight, and she made him sleep on the couch all night.
This may be a funny image, but this sequence of events most likely never happened. While the Declaration of Independence was in the works, Martha Jefferson was severely ill after miscarrying. The inaccuracy count is now 6.
James Madison never had a son, and he fought the War of 1812.
James Madison never had a biological son, but he did gain a stepson by marrying Dolly Madison. The inaccuracy count is now 7.
James Monroe's colossal nose was bigger than Pinocchio's.
John Quincy Adams was number 6, and it's Andrew Jackson's butt he kicks, so Jackson learns to play politics. Next time, he's the one that the country picks.
That's not quite how it happened. Andrew Jackson actually got more votes than John Quincy Adams in the 1824 election, but neither of them gained a majority, so the president was picked by the House of Representatives, and controversially, they picked John Quincy Adams. This is actually the only time this has happened since the passage of the 12th Amendment, as well as the only time that the candidate who became president did not have the most electoral votes. The inaccuracy count is now 8.
Martin Van Buren, number 8 for a one-term shot as chief of state.
William Harrison, how do you praise? That guy was dead in 30 days.
John Tyler, he liked country folk.
And after him came President Polk.
Zachary Taylor liked to smoke. His breath killed friends whenever he spoke.
I couldn't find any information about Zachary Taylor's smoking habits or whether he smoked at all, so I will consider this false. The inaccuracy count is now 9.
1850, really nifty, Millard Fillmore's in.
Millard Fillmore is considered to be one of the worst presidents in United States history, so I doubt historians would call him nifty. The inaccuracy count is now 10.
Young and fierce was Franklin Pierce, the man without a chin.
Franklin Pierce was only young by presidential standards, having been inaugurated at age 49. The inaccuracy count is now 11.
Follows next a period spanning 4 long years with James Buchanan. Then the South starts shooting cannon.
But they were never aimed at James Buchanan, as he left office a month before the Civil War began. The inaccuracy count is now 12.
And we got a civil war. A war down south of Dixie.
Up to bat comes old Abe Lincoln.
There's a guy who's really thinking.
Kept the United States from shrinking, saved the ship of state from sinking.
If the scoreboard were to represent states, it would be wrong. The Confederate States of America only ever held 11 states, so I guess they did this to make the number of states closer, which it wasn't, considering that the Union held 23. Also, 16 plus 15 is 31. In 1861, the Union and the Confederacy held 34 states combined, and during the war that number grew to 36 with the annexation of West Virginia and Nevada. The inaccuracy count is now 14.
Andrew Johnson's next. He had some slight defects.
Congress each would impeach.
And so the country now elects
Ulysses Simpson Grant.
The S in Ulysses S. Grant's name didn't stand for Simpson, nor did it stand for anything at all. His birth name was Hiram Ulysses Grant. The inaccuracy count is now 15.
Who would scream and rave and rant?
While drinking whiskey, oh, the risky, 'cause he'd spill it on his pants.
Grant's reputation as a heavy drinker is not well-founded. Historians concluded that he didn't actually drink that much. The inaccuracy count is now 16.
It's 1877 and the Democrats would gloat, but they're all amazed when Rutherford Hayes wins by just one vote.
James Garfield someone really hated cause he was assassinated.
Chester Arthur gets instated. 4 years later, he was traded.
For Grover Cleveland, really fat, elected twice as a Democrat. Then Benjamin Harrison, after that it's William McKinley up the bat.
Grover Cleveland did serve twice, but non-consecutively, his 2 terms being in between Benjamin Harrison's on the timeline. He is one of 2 presidents to have achieved this record. The inaccuracy count is now 17.
Roosevelt charged up San Juan Hill.
That was 2 years before his presidency. The inaccuracy count is now 18.
And President Taft, he got the bill.
In 1913, Woodrow Wilson takes us into World War I.
World War I actually began in 1914, and the Americans didn't enter the war until 3 years later. The inaccuracy count is now 20. The United States did not take part in the battles of Gallipoli, the Somme, or Verdun. In fact, with the sole exception of the Meuse-Argonne offensive, these battles all took place before the United States even entered the war. Incidentally, the names of these battles are not displayed in chronological order. The Battle of Gallipoli took place from April of 1915 to January of 1916. The Battle of Verdun took place from February of 1916 to December of 1916. The Battle of the Somme took place from July of 1916 to November of 1916, and the Meuse-Argonne offensive took place from September of 1918 to November of 1918. The inaccuracy count is now 23.
Warren Harding next in line.
It's Calvin Coolidge, he does fine.
Calvin Coolidge didn't exactly do fine. Historians concluded that he did kind of meh during his presidency. The inaccuracy count is now 24.
And then in 1929, the market crashes and we fight.
It's Herbert Hoover's big debut.
Herbert Hoover's presidency began before the 1929 stock market crash. The inaccuracy count is now 25.
He gets the blame and loses too.
Franklin Roosevelt, president who helped us win in World War II.
Hitler's Germany was not the sole enemy in World War II. The United States mainly declared war on Japan due to the attack on Pearl Harbor and declared war on Germany 3 days later. Germany surrendered first, with Japan backing down after the bombardment of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The inaccuracy count is now 26.
Harry Truman, weird little human, serves 2 terms and when he's done.
It's Eisenhower who's got the power from 53 to 61.
John Kennedy had Camelot, then Lyndon Johnson took his spot.
Richard Nixon, he gets caught, and Gerald Ford fell down a lot.
This incident only occurred once, allegedly due to a knee injury. The inaccuracy count is now 27.
Jimmy Carter liked campaign trips.
And Ronald Reagan's speeches scripts all came from famous movie clips and...
That's a slightly ham-fisted way of saying that Ronald Reagan used to be an actor. Not to mention that by the time of his presidency, he hadn't actually been in any films for nearly 20 years. The inaccuracy count is now 28.
President Bush said, "Read my lips."
Now in Washington, D.C.
That's Democrats and the GOP.
But the ones in charge are plain to see.
The Clintons, Bill and Hillary.
The next president to lead the way, well, it just might be yourself one day. Then the press'll distort everything you say. So jump in your plane and fly away.
Since the airing of this episode, these people have been elected president. George W. Bush served from 2001 to 2009. Barack Obama served until 2017. Trump took over him, was replaced by Biden in 2021, and then Trump won again in 2024 against Kamala Harris. Also in 2002 and 2007, the 25th Amendment was invoked, meaning that George Bush's Vice President Dick Cheney acted as president in those 2 years for a grand total of 4 hours and 20 minutes.